I just saw this. I said, man, let me get on this real quick. I'm sitting here looking for some news. I was on Tom's Hardware and just caught my attention. Let me put this content out real quick and knock this out. Get it done. Put it out there. And deal with the results later. Alright. Oh, by the way, hello viewers. Me again. Another beautiful day. Hope your 5 senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. Alright. What I got for you? Oh yeah. Hold up this. It says here AMD RX Vega 64 runs Indiana Jones and the Great Circle at well over 30 FPS in Linux with Radv driver. Yeah. Says here Radv features baked in ray tracing software emulation enabling ray trace functionality on AMD GPUs dating back to first generation GCN GPUs. No wonder why the Steam Deck is doing so good now. Okay, alright. So the Steam Deck can do ray tracing. Yeah. Anyway, it says here, ray trace has long been proven only to be playable on GPUs boasting hardware accelerated ray tracing capabilities. However, AMD dating back to the first GCN based graphics card, including GPUs such as the Radeon HD 7970, has been capable of running ray tracing for a while through software emulation. Clueless Clay on YouTube brought this fact to our attention, and several sources demonstrate ray tracing on older AMD GPUs in a Vega 64 graphics card running Indiana Jones and the Great Circle as well at over 30 FPS. The software-based ray tracing implementation offers surprisingly potent performance. One YouTuber fittingly named No RTX No Problem shared a video on an RX Vega 64 running Indiana Jones and the Great Circle in Linux. Fedora 41 at 1080p with 50% resolution scaling, 720p internal resolution with medium graphics settings at playable frame rates. Frame rates are hovered anywhere between 50 to 60 FPS average. Says another YouTuber BK Benchmark showed an RX 5700 XT running the same game with identical settings but at native 1080p resolution, 100% scaling. The new GPU demonstrates significantly better performance, hovering in the 70s to 80s FPS range on average. It says here ray tracing emulation exists through Linux Radv driver, an open source counterpart to AMD. Official AMD VLK reference Linux driver, significantly expanding AMD GPU capabilities in Linux. Ray tracing support on non-RT support AMD GPUs was allegedly the brainchild of Joshua Ashton, known for his work on Proton and DXVK. Phoronix reported that adapting AMD Linux-based Radv driver to run emulated RT was not difficult for the developer. Ashton Radv ray tracing emulation is achieved by emulating AMD BVH, intersection instruction in software. You know I can't read, you know. Anyway, senior Mr. Around here says here Joshua Ashton alleged started experimenting with ray tracing emulation, supporting in 2021, adding support for architecture dating back to the GCN 1.0 in 2022. By 2023, his RT emulation development reached stability, achieving a 100% pass rate. According to Phoronix, the feature can even be activated with RDNA 2. Yeah, that explains the Steam Deck. And RDNA 3 for benchmarking, purpose for using the emulated RT debug option. Linux RT emulation on AMD GPU is not a competitive solution against newer GPUs sporting hardware-baked ray tracing acceleration. However, the technology has major implications for making modern games playable on older graphics card. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a great example, being one of the first, if not the first, title to require a ray trace capable graphics card. If this trend continues, we can expect future titles to boast the same requirements. Emulating ray tracing will be the only way to make These feature games playable on non-RT accelerated GPU, assuming the ray trace lighting in future games can be turned down to playable levels. Says here, however, the biggest hurdle of this ray trace emulation implementation is that it's only supported Linux operating system, being an open source Linux specific driver. Apparently, there is no work being done to bring such a feature to Windows 10 or Windows 11 in an official or open source manner, and there is no work being done to offer this capability on NVIDIA GTX graphics card, limiting its functionality to the niche group of users running Linux on pre-RDNA 2 base AMD graphics card. Steam Deck, folks. Anyway, let's see. We got 7 comments here. Yeah, that explained that statement. Well, we couldn't find the game, huh? All right. It says, Art said this. It would be interesting to see if this could be ported to Windows. Maybe part Nimes driver or something. It would allow some people using older cards the ability to play these newer cards that require ray trace, even if it's not at the highest settings. And then Ez said this right here, folks, is an example of why Linux is the future of gaming. It's why Valve is so heavily invested in Linux. No corporate holdbacks, no Microsoft limitations, no driver cutoffs, no more artificial planned obsolescence. A modder can easily do what a modder wants to do. Like I said, and compared to its harder to do things on locked a platform, we don't need the corporation. The corporation needs us. Yeah, and this goes back to what I said about the modders when Valve opened the back of the Steam Deck and they were sitting there like this. Really, we got something to say about that. Anyway, it says here, let me keep going. It says here, and then Thunder says here, we don't need corporation, the corporation needs us. It says it's symbiotic. Try posting that without a corporation. And then Ed said this, ray tracing has long been proven only to be playable on GPUs boasting hardware accelerated ray trace capabilities. Proven by who? Question mark. Real-time ray trace predated hardware graphics accelerators. Yeah, boy, this comment section is no joke. Anyway, let me see who else I can get here. And then who is this? Kate. Who is this? Phylon say this. It says Q. Linux is the future. Nut bar crawling out of the woodworks. We've been hearing this crap for what, 30 years now. Every year is the year Linux breaks into the mainstream and take over. Spoiler alert, this will never happen, ever. It will always be a niche for a handful of code monkeys who refuse to let go of console commands, or Steam Deck users who love slow screen and underpowered hardware. I've always been alive and let live kind of. He says I've always been a live and let kind of guy. And I'm still, if you love Linux and you love gaming on Linus and you love the Steam Deck, all the power to you. Enjoy. I honestly mean that, but don't delude yourself into thinking it will ever replace Windows as the de facto PC gaming platform, because it won't. And then who is this? King V. He said this. He said, Q. Linux is. He's responding to. He says here, if you keep using your Windows 10 PC, we recommend keep your files backed up and easily access. No, he says the last bit with Windows 10 and OneDrive is weird. Aren't files at risk due to being stored by an at point insecure OS? But casual dismissal in the underlying part, traded in or recycle it, traded in. Who's going to use it? At that point, there's going to be a flood of perfectly serviceable machines, likely more than there are Linux users, tech enthusiasts taking them in. He says recycle it. This to me is is them trying to greenwash their move. They know perfectly well that recycling is not exactly well implemented, and that's where there will be an enormous amount of perfectly serviceable PCs winding up in landfills. Oh, this goes back to the article that I'm about to do in a minute. And then he says, whatever distribution have the easiest at this time to use UIS will probably move a bit, being even more user-friendly enough. I don't know, but moving a little further, a little further. I mean, who was this? And then Moose said this. That's right here, folks, is an example of why Linux is the future. Gaming it's why Valve is so heavily invested in Linux. No corporate holdbacks, no Microsoft limitation, no driver cutoff, no more artificial planned obsolescence. A modder can easily do what a modder wants to do compared to it's hard to do things on locked platform. And then he says, we don't need corporation needs us, he says. Then he says, not sure what this has to do with Microsoft. Seems like AMD could open source their Windows drivers if they want. That is true. Well, this article explained the Steam Deck and explains the Steam Deck. So yeah, RDNA 2 is alive and well, man. So this might explain why Assassin's Creed is running so good is running on the Steam Deck too. Assassin's Creed Shadows is running on the Steam Deck. But there was an article before this though that talked about landfills and laptops. Linux or landfill. Talking about good, with Microsoft recommending people to upgrade their computers. The article is like Linux or landfill. I was just about to do that too, but I ran into this. But yeah, well, another win for AMD. So these troubleshooters, man, they always, these gamers, they always coming up with finding out new things, when they experiment with stuff. Yeah, the one comment that got me was like when he said when who was that? He says who is this? Oh, that was Phylon. He says Linux is the future, not bar crawling out of the woodworks. We've been hearing this crap for he said for what 30 years now. Look, man, Microsoft has a big market share in the market, so and with rumors of Valve bringing Steam OS to mainstream, to like desktop to mainstream, they might put a dent in Windows market share, from a gamer side. But I think from like a corporate and business side, Microsoft, will still have that market share. So, it's just a constant battle between Microsoft and Linux, which is healthy for
Grammarly is an AI writing partner that works seamlessly with your everyday apps. Which is professionals write better and faster.
Stop it.
Get all their work done or do anything really that you have to do. Grammarly's AI features helps you cut down.
All right. Anyway, so so it's good competition for the market, but there will be people that like Windows. There will be people that like Linux. So yeah, it's good healthy competition for the market, man. But this might have explained the Steam Deck, why it's running the games that it's running, in a nutshell, So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Crystal, Star Wars, Star Trek, Borg, Dark Side. Go. Peace.